Hi guys. Right, I thought I'd bring you up to date with what's happening over at inchristumcredent.com, the website for the apostolic letter that Pope Benedict wrote in 2013. So we are actually coming up to tomorrow, being March the 11th, will be the anniversary of the beginning of the communications between Yah and Pope Benedict, as well as myself and Father Giuseppe Civello and all that went down during that amazing week. So some interesting changes occurring over at the site. Now, Gabe put together the website and has been controlling it since 2013, and I have not heard a word from Gabe in spite of me sending emails concerned for him. I've heard nothing since January 2023. So with what's going on at the site, it's a bit of a mystery, and let's see where it leads. I'll pause as I go to each photograph. Let's start first with, here we go. Okay, so this was Monday of this week. It's Sunday, the 10th of March, so 6 days ago on the 4th of March. And this is Tugam time, Queensland, Australia, so being ahead of the USA and the UK. Yes, so this was Monday, and then that was okay for a day or two until Tuesday, the next day. The account has been suspended, and then I'll just pause this while I find it. Thursday. This is the image that was uploaded. Maintenance, site is closed for renovations, check back soon. So I have been. And then it was Matty who found it first, and then of course I posted it as soon as he sent it to me, and I've been watching it throughout the days since, because so yesterday at 10:32 a.m. and I posted it into our group chat. A very youthful looking Yah. Maintenance, the site is closed for renovations, check back soon. So I have been checking every few minutes throughout the day. Now what is interesting is, yes, a photograph, I do it often. A photograph is put into the software editing program, and you can turn it into, this looks like a canvas or even a linen canvas. That's easily done. And it looks like Yah is wearing an aviator jacket. Well, he didn't have one as part of his wardrobe on this side. And I'll also point out that the teeth, they are restored natural teeth. Oh my goodness gracious me. So this has a lot of us excited and wondering what is going on. But he did say a long time ago to get the popcorn, and a message came through this morning via the Dreamliner, where two of our Dreamliner were in an audience in a theatre. And Yah was there, and he went behind the scenes to direct. So I think that's a bit of a clue there, who it is behind the scenes that is orchestrating what is going to be next over at the ICC site. And yeah, I just want to say that this is an incredible story. And as Ezekiel pointed out to our messenger, it was the 7th of January that this is Yah and Ash's story. And everything has to play out the way that it is. And as much as I am so anxious for Yah to be back. I know that he's been working and pressed into public service. He had to go, that's okay. But one of the last things he said to me the morning that he left from the house was that I always keep my promises. And I said, yes, I know that you do. And his promise to me is that we would never be separated. And as wall of weird that everything was concerning the creation day of October the 18th, leading up to it and beyond. Oh dear, what an epic story this is. So yes, everything is playing out on the world stage, and I'll show you Missy, since I can get... oh yeah, this was Missy this morning, looking oh so cool and casual. Very relaxed, just waiting for Yah to come on home. Right, now, what I also wanted to go through was, let me find it, this is a document sent to me by Diana Christine, thank you Diana, and I'll put the PDF link into the description underneath this video. It's pretty much the same as the book that I showed you in the last video, and I'll read a paragraph or two from the end of the book. Yeah, I like to skip right to the end. just give me the executive summary from the end of the book or the conclusion. But what is important here is that years before I found Yah, I was looking, and of course I had angelic encounters, and I knew I was having angelic encounters, and it was all to prepare me in my journey of finding my husband. And I was trained in the sound that, again, I mentioned Pierre, and let me speak to the camera a while. All right, Pierre, look, if you can send me the link, or if anybody remembers the letter that I wrote to Pierre, it's from 2008, where I explained to Pierre Yah and then the Asherah being the light. From within the Father came the light as the mother, and just 10% of the visible universe. But I explained then about the sound. Well, what's interesting to me is that I was trained in that sound, and I was told that that is my call sign. And when you say it often enough, it sounds like a train. But the sound was shoo, 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 like that. Now, we'll go back to this document that Diana sent, because if we look at the letters, it is the SRTH, that is that sound that I was trained in. So I'll just read this first paragraph, then I'll go and read the last paragraphs of the book, because you can look and read through this document. A lot of it is convoluted, but Yah always took the broad brush strokes. And I remember the video that we made while we were in Harcourt during that period of time. So it was 2000, it was actually the beginning of 2010. That's right, because we'd already been through the Northern Territory, and then it was September 2009 that I began staying at Harcourt, and we began recording from there on Tuesdays. And it was Isaiah 44:14, the verse there, Isaiah 44:14, where Yah found, and I remember him saying, "That's what I knew, I had you hidden somewhere in the script," and it was from Isaiah, and it was talking about hewing down trees, and in the last it talks about the ash tree, and the Lord does send the rain to nourish it. It's the ash tree, and God knows I don't do brown. The rain we've been getting here now for several months is turning everything into, it's just beautiful. It's glorious to look at. And I'm sitting daily underneath the flame tree that Yah planted, the planting of the Lord. He asked, where do you want me to plant this? I pointed right down there at the junction of the two fences. And today it is flourishing, and it has red blooms that are encroaching upon the cross arm of our Yah-built cross. And I sit underneath, shaded by it, and it makes a pretty good umbrella today, I discovered. However, our time together, we always talked about the time much like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Harrison Ford, who, by the way, flies into Harvey Bay in one of his own aircraft because Harrison Ford apparently tells the world that his favourite place to holiday is Harvey Bay, Fraser Island. So Yah flew the yellow moth, you know the stories, across the Great Australian Bight and the Aboriginals on the tarmac and all kinds of things, all part of Yah's stories that kept Pope Benedict so entertained. But he did get his pilot's license while in Canada. And Pope Benedict himself flew the helicopter, the papal helicopter. So I'm looking forward to what's next, as much as what's going on in Palestine is playing out. We've been told they are the people of destiny, and the leaders of the world are being judged upon their reactions or no reaction. Documents in Australia, 92 pages, sent to the International Court of Justice in The Hague regarding our own Prime Minister and his support for Israel, etc. And of course, you know, he's saying, oh, it'll go nowhere. However, people are taking notice, and it's the ordinary people who are rising up and forcing their governments to turn against what's been going on under the current leadership of Israel. As Yahweh always said, Palestine was, is, and always will be the Holy Lands. And before the oppressors moved in from 1947, actually, 48, and the massacres that took place of an unarmed people living in peace in their communities, Palestine was a burgeoning commercial city. It was tremendous. It was just stunning, actually, at all that they are able to accomplish and produce within Palestine. So anyway, moving right along, let's get back to the document. You can read through that particular document. I just wanted to, where is it gone? Here it is. Yeah, over the years, inscriptions found at, we'll just go straight to the short version of KA and KCOM, that mention an Asherah in association with the God Yahweh have attracted a staggering amount of discussion. And when considered as a whole, what is most striking about this scholarly discourse is the degree to which it has been marked by persistent and wide divergence over the meaning of consonantal SRTH, which is that sound that I just told you that I was trained in. While the prospect that the term may constitute evidence that a female deity was worshipped alongside Yahweh in ancient Israel, Judah, has been generally acknowledged, the question of whether it refers directly to a goddess has been hotly disputed, with not a few arguing that an object of some kind rather than a deity is in view. So it goes on and on and on, backwards and forwards, different opinions of all kinds of people and their 2 cents worth over the years, etc. All valid, all sparking the debate and the conversation. But Yah settled it all. It's really quite simple. And he always said that circumcision was about the removal of the mother, the female, the covering for the family. We'll go back to check out in Christum Credent to make sure, it still hasn't changed yet. Look at that handsome dude. Isn't he gorgeous? And right, back to the camera. Alright, so you know what Yah thought about the Bible? For him it was a tool, nothing more. And it was for him alone, who he is, to reveal himself within the measure of the creation. And he always taught that what was holy and inspired was the 1890 James Strong's Concordance. That's where the truth is revealed. It's not for everybody. I mean, I would say, why would it be for everybody? You know, God comes down into his creation and everybody knows everything. All knowledge shall increase, and, you know, people can heal themselves. That's all good and all the rest of it. His revelation is all about him. The measure of the creation reveals God. End of story. And the glory of the Lord is revealed in the heavens, which we know. He explained it all. It's really the keep it simple, stupid. So this author, the author of this is Bob Becking. Mindert Digstra, Marjo C.A. Corporal, and Carol J.H. Vriesen. Okay. To me, the Bible is not a trustworthy report on events from times long passed by. It is a book in which people witness their religious view on reality. Remember, the writers of the script. In other words, the Hebrew Bible informs us on religious views in ancient Israel, but from a specific perspective. The book or collections of writings is supplying coloured information. The archaeological and epigraphic findings discussed in this volume have, independent of their interpretation, again shown the prejudice of the biblical authors. Yah's loving this. Despite the variety of views on these data, it has become clear that religious life in ancient Israel was pluriform and varied. Evidence for the veneration of images is present. In some localities and in some periods, a divine consort of Yahweh was worshipped. It is not clear how long this veneration continued and when it ended, but it is clear that in the period conventionally called the Babylonian exile from 587 to 539 BC, Asherah was no longer worshipped as the consort of Yahweh. I'll read to you the people's reaction, because I mentioned it before, and it was Yah who called Jeremiah straight out to me after waking up to all this, a false prophet. Now, the subtitle here is The Queen of Heaven, an example. In Jeremiah 44, an interesting tradition can be found when the text emerged and by whom it was written will not be discussed here. The text relates to the adventures of a group of Judeans who sought refuge in Egypt after the fall of Jerusalem in 587 BC. The text focuses on their confrontation with the prophet Jeremiah. The starting point is a Jeremiac prophecy of doom that consists of two parts. The first part contains a retrospective view on the recent events that both Jeremiah and the group of Judeans went through. The second part of the prophecy foresees the doom they will encounter in Egypt. After this first prophecy, the word is given to the Judeans, who relate their view on the immediate past. The unit closes with a repetition of the prophecy of doom in even more bitter words. That was Jeremiah. Now, Yah always too brought into question the building of Solomon's temple and all the rest of it, because they can only find piles of rocks and things today. There's nothing. And so this author talks about the temple allegedly built by Solomon. All right. So basically Jeremiah's calling out the people for worshipping to Jeremiah, the catastrophe of 587 BCE, the wrath of Yahweh, provoked by the guilt of the people of Judah, is spelled out. Jeremiah, as is witnessed by the biblical book, now Bible means book, condemned the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem for worshipping other gods and for neglecting prophetic warnings. Strangely enough, after finding refuge in the Egyptian exile, the Judeans continued their evil ways, as if they were meaning no harm. They went on venerating other deities in such a way that provoked Jeremiah's prophecy of doom. Even in Egypt they cannot escape the punishing wrath of Yahweh. This provokes a reaction from the Judeans who had fled to Egypt. They have a different evaluation of the recent events. In their plea, they develop the following argument. Now, I want to reiterate, we talked about this before, when Yara and I were in Luxor, Egypt, 2013, Luxor being the area where, the mythical Moses was born. They didn't have a clue about Moses, our very knowledgeable guide through the Temple of the Kings, etc. You mentioned Moses and they go, oh yeah, right, that dude, However, the guide was intent on watching Yah's face because they had an inscription of Jesus' face in the prayer room of the temple in the stone. And the guide's looking at it as he's telling us about it and then looking at Yah's face, and I saw this, so naturally I told it, well, this is the Christ. And he believed because he could see with his own eyes Yah's face engraved in the stone. Anyway, so this is the people's response to the allegations of Jeremiah about why this happened. Now, it happened because it needed to happen. The word which you have spoken to us in the name of Yahweh, we are not listening to you. Instead, we shall do every word that comes forth from our mouth, to offer sacrifices to the Queen of Heaven, and to offer her drink offerings, just as we and our fathers, our kings and our officials did in the cities of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem. And we ate enough bread, and we were well off, and evil we did not see. But since we stopped offering sacrifices to the Queen of Heaven and offering drink offerings to her, we have lacked everything. And by sword and by famine we have been consumed. So the people, this was their experience. It's all very well for you to say this and point the blame at us, Jeremiah. However, this is the reality of our life. So basically the author's saying they have a different view as to the cause of the destruction of Jerusalem. So I'm not going to go on. The conclusion of it all is that the archaeological record is Yahweh and Asherah. Let's keep it simple. And again, it's simply comprehending, as Ezekiel told our messenger, God, the all, two opposing forces, if you like, as father and mother, to come into his creation. And mother and father reflected throughout all creation. And to bring it home, I want to thank Barbara and Haley. I did receive your card, thank you, darling. And Shelley Amore has been sending me things from the USA to keep me occupied. I've just now sorted it all, Shelley, where I'm going to start. I don't have a clue. And Faye, your cards consistently come. I want you to know how much I appreciate all of you and your thoughts and continued sending of cards and your thoughts and prayers. But Barbara sends me very interesting emails fairly often. So after my previous upload, when I said, well, just try it. Add Asherah to the mix. in extending the blessing of Yahweh and his Asherah toward members of your family and whatever. So Barbara writes, I just prayed saying Yahweh-Jesus Asherah. And I noticed that Asherah started echoing, like yelling into a canyon. And it keeps going and going. No wonder they wanted to erase that, because that's the rest of it. To put it simply, that's the rest of it. They cut it off on purpose because it's so powerful, echoing through the universe. They are prayers that don't stop. It makes the prayer effective, and it summons the universe for a response, and the universe hears and responds. Amazing. Love you both so much. LJL. Bar. So that's from somebody else. And I just recounting, as I have been, our adventures together once I found Yah, is that people began seeing both of us. You know, we'd be in Fiji and we're told we're told that a couple looking just like us were on the bus, and that's, of course, it wasn't us, it was the angels. However, seeing us together and then the news brought to us, it began the healing of all of the people from the Methodist Church in Nandi, right beside the Sky Lodge there, and all those marvellous videos that we were able to upload with Pastor Penny. 3 years lying down from a stroke, and we treat him, and then he's going to the beach for the first time. And Flora, with the belt that killed her 3 friends, was stopped because we treated her, and the children at the village. All these marvellous, marvellous. These are the things I would say to you, that's when I'm happiest, is when we are together, curing people of their diseases and just teaching them. And I have said to Yah that when he returns, I want to go back with him to Palestine to rebuild. Remember, the people of Palestine will prevail. Yah always said, the land of Canaan, which is not to be confused with the seed of Cain. This is the land of Canaan, which is Palestine. That they had it right, Yahweh and Asherah. And that the biblical script writers, the descriptive, wrote the mother out of the script. Well, time for restoration, and keep your eyes on the renovation of the In Christum Credence site. I have a feeling things are about to get very interesting. All right, good night. It's 31 minutes, this one, and later, Gators.